Good afternoon, YouTube. It's Beck here from Sewbecurated. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I never know where to look when I'm filming with my phone. I am in the shop. It's a public holiday in Australia, Monday, long weekend. You can probably hear a noise out the back. That's our little vacuum, Emily, doing her thing. She's my favourite. I need one for home because our house at home is looking terrible. Anyway, I'm in the shop and I am making some kits up that have been incredibly popular for my textile pinch pots, and I will actually turn you around and show you what they look like. So here's my textile pinch pots. Come in a variety of sizes. I talk you through in the little pattern that I have. Like this, there's a digital download online. In store there is a little printed card, and then we have little kits as well that, the card's upside down there, maybe because I put my sticker on upside down. But it's got yo-yos and bits of vintage quilt and bits of beautiful embroideries and beautiful fabrics that I've collected, and I'm just going to put a few more of those together because they've been very popular. Now, if you don't like vintage textiles, you can absolutely make them with non-vintage textiles. This is Liberty Capel or Capel. I always call it Capel, but I'm not sure if it's Capel. And I just canter stitch this one. I start with a cross because I love a little cross. Canter stitch the whole way through and then ended it with a blanket stitch, even though most of my textiles wrap front to back. So on the inside, it's a much smaller stitch because it's going through 2 layers of fabric and woolen kind of material in the center there. But also very cute. This one I showed on my last video. It was at the ugly stage, but I think it ended up really gorgeous. So that's what I'm doing in the pretty shop. God, I love this space. It's like so good. I cannot believe it's mine. Pinch me now. I've got my camera set up because I was going to talk to you about some stuff. So I'm going to sit down and work on some textile kits. They are Gosling bundles ready to go. Just haven't had a chance to photograph the vintage linens that go with them properly. There were 12 of them, but lots have sold out of the shop as people have visited. Okay, so I'm now sitting at our lovely teaching space, or where we do our sit and sews. I am doing a very exciting task of unpicking some yo-yos because they go into the kits that we're creating. Now, this quilt was very damaged, and in fact, wasn't actually a quilt top. It was like part of a quilt top. And sometimes we sell yo-yos like so because they're really fun as pages in needle books. Like, I like to have those as pages in needle books. But for this project that I'm kitting up at the moment, it's more an individual yo-yo will be kind of what fits into your bowl. Now, just on that, did you know that To Be Loved by Treasures by Corinne is coming to host her workshop in our space in July, which is super exciting. So I'm actually going to put some details of that onto my website. So if you're looking for classes, you can click through that link to her, to Corinne's workshop. I just haven't got to it because we've had a massive start to the year, for which we're incredibly grateful. The pinch pots have done really well. What else has done really well? Oh, the Mum and Son fabric, that was actually sold last year, but it came in and we've been shipping those out, which is busy. The Liberty season release has done quite well. Season release. On 1st of January, some Liberty season 2024-2025 became available, and we'd had it for a little while, but we were allowed to release it, and there were some beautiful prints in that, and they sold out really quickly. But I think I'm getting one more back in stock that I really wanted. They had some beautiful pops of neon, and you know I love neon. And what else did they have? I don't know, they had some really lovely prints, and lots of them sold out really quickly. And I don't know, I think the wholesaler though of Liberty said that they've just got a massive shipment in of Liberty, so that's exciting because we'll get some of our, you know, the classics which are around for a while, not just one go at it and they're done, is going to be available or like restock in the shop, which is great because we love Liberty and I use it a lot. And really this video is going to be about me talking you through some prices of things that I have been purchasing lately, because I know that, you know, lots of people like to find their textiles in the wild, as I call it. Like yesterday in Newcastle we have a market called, I always want to call it Wickham because it's at Wickham Park, but I think it's the Islington market. It's kind of like a car boot sale, like cars pull up and they put tables out. It was actually a really quiet one yesterday because it was a public holiday, and I think, you know, on a long weekend, so people were away, you know, rather than setting up stalls. But I did share on Instagram a couple of things I found, you know, a very cool needle keep, like a little tube, enamel tube that had needles in it, and a beautiful lace and some trays, like a wooden tray with bakelite green handles, which I really like. I use those in the shop to display products, and an enamel tin, and I don't have them here, otherwise I'd show them to you. They're still at home, but you know, I found some good stuff, and that's what I call in the wild, like finding it for yourself in the wild. And I have some thoughts about what's going on with prices and how to find good textiles, and I've got some examples of things that I have found. So yeah, obviously people selling stuff at those kind of sales is good. You will have people that are selling there that have bought and then are reselling. There is a lot of reselling in vintage. Sometimes I wonder if it's just a circular economy and that nobody's actually using this stuff, and we're all just kind of, you know, moving it around in circles, except that, you know, we do use the stuff. But I know people buy and then resell, and myself included, but I don't know why I was sharing that. Not going very well today, am I? But I did have some thoughts, about where you might get textiles at reasonable prices. So in Australia, we have what are called op shops, and they are like thrift stores in America or charity shops in the UK. I'm not sure what they're called in other parts of the world, but they're certainly not usually as big as ones that I see on, you know, YouTubes of what's going on in America. They seem a bit more like the English-sized kind of shops, and they have a variety, you know, goods that people have donated so that they can sell them and hopefully make a profit, and it's usually for a cause. Like there was one very close to my last premises, and it was for pets, and so they used to help pensioners in particular, but pay for neuting of dogs and cats that they had adopted, so that there wasn't, you know, a ridiculous amount of kittens or puppies that didn't have homes. So, you know, they tend to be for something like that, or for homelessness, to tackle homelessness, which is becoming a bigger problem in Australia and certainly in Newcastle where we live. I don't know, they're really worth supporting. So I buy stuff there, but I also buy stuff at vintage shops that are like little antique malls or shops themselves. Now I buy it both for myself to use, and sometimes I include it in kits. Somebody once asked me, you know, how do I choose what to price like the vintage textiles at? And I mean, you're watching me right now, like snip apart something. There is time involved in preparing the textiles. I'll take you out the back when I show you the prices and the products that I've got from different places. And I've got a wash going actually at the moment. I've got more soaking going. I'll show you my ironing piles. Like I've got 2 massive baskets of ironing that have been created in the last month because I kind of got them up to date while I was on holidays over Christmas. And it takes a lot of time and effort to get the textiles clean and work out what you're going to use it for. There's a lot going into it. So sometimes I am buying textiles at prices that definitely I think are below the value which I can sell them at. Sometimes not. Sometimes I am buying textiles at the price that I think is reasonable for them. And this is like, my husband would die about this information because he's forever talking to me about pay attention to this kind of stuff. But because they're interesting textiles and I think they add a lot to the kits that I'm putting together. So bits of the textile kits sometimes aren't very profitable for me at all, but they do allow me to create beautiful kits for you and for me to create with. So it's kind of a labour of love, I think, vintage. Worth it, but because I like working with it, but I also really like working with new textiles. In fact, this morning I just finished putting the applique on my new quilt that I'm going to be releasing. I'm, well, I would say 3/4 of the way through writing the pattern for that. My husband had to give me a talking to the other day when I was being all whingy and very annoying about writing patterns, and I don't like writing them. And he said, well, when you're a lawyer, and he's a lawyer as well, you spend most of your day writing contracts. Did you like doing that? I did not like doing that, and there's a reason I'm not a lawyer anymore. I really enjoyed the study of law, not so much the practice. And he's right, like sometimes you just got to suck up the things that you don't like doing and get them out there. And it's not like I don't like the pattern itself, I just don't like writing the words. I don't know why that is, but I'm going to stop whinging about it right now, as well as in general, because it's part of my job and not every part of your job can be amazing. I actually really like preparing the vintage textiles, although it is a lot of work, especially like, you know, the time going into ironing. I really need to find an ironing lady because I don't have time for it. But I like preparing them because it lets you look at them and see, you know, it's another chance to examine what you're working with, which can help me formulate how they go in together in kits. It's kind of like, sometimes people say to me, oh, they can't stand hand quilting, it takes so long. Whereas for me, I love it because it's another chance to examine the beautiful textiles that I've put into my quilt. And it really is, like, I love the meditative motion of rocking a stitch through your work, but I love that I get to re-examine all those textiles and how I've put them together. And you know, I often have bits of fabric in my quilts from my kids' clothing, or, you know, vintage textiles that may actually have been gifted to me, and or fabric that's been gifted to me, or just very favourite fabrics that you know when you bought it like 20 years ago and it's so special to you. So all of those thoughts are going on while I'm rocking my needles in and out of my fabric, and it's just a very calming process for me, and also enjoyable because it lets me look at those textiles that I love. Like, sometimes people ask why you get into quilting, like what inspired you, or, you know, and often it's, you've been around lots of quilters. I wasn't around quilters. My mum, turns out, did make a quilt, but she didn't really share anything about that with me. And she did do textile kind of work. She was a very good embroiderer, like a traditional embroiderer, very perfect, neat front and back. And when I was young, I liked sewing. My grandmother taught me how to make some clothes for my dolls and Teddy, and taught me how to knit. And then my mum encouraged me with cross stitch, which I did for quite a while. I really enjoyed it, it was fun. And then I kind of stopped doing it until, like, I did occasionally make something. I made some cushions. I remember when my husband and I first moved in together. But maybe until I had Emma, until I was having kids. When I was pregnant with her, I wanted to make all the things for her. I think that's a really common experience. Like, so I was knitting a lot because she was a winter baby, and I knew how to knit, and I just really enjoyed making stuff for her. But then I started really getting into fabrics and stuff. So for me, that's such a convoluted story. I hope somebody's still here at this point. For me, quilting has always been about the fabric. I love that we get to see how they go together and combine them. I adore the outcome of them, like in what a finished quilt looks like, and that mix of fabrics and how individual they are, and how each quilt, you know, has the mark of the maker on it. I love that the most, but I also really enjoy the meditative, the mindfulness of making quilts, because I think, you know, we hear a lot these days about mindfulness and, you know, allowing your thoughts to settle. If you ever think about creative things, that's kind of what we're doing all the time. We are allowing our thoughts to settle and making, you know, using, like with stitching, we're using repetitive motion. It's a very calming practice, and people sometimes say to me, "Oh, you must be so patient." Anybody that knows me in real life is laughing their head off at that statement, because I am potentially the least patient person you have ever encountered. I'm super impatient. My kids will tell you I'm impatient. I get bored easily. I'm not patient. And I think I need the slowness though of the stitching in quilting, in slow stitching like in those textile pots or in my needle books, because it's really settling for me. So if you're still here, I'm going to take you out the back. I'm actually going to take you out the back in a minute, because I'm going to put together some kits here, and I'll show a little bit of video of that, and show you the textiles and talk about the pricing. So I've just kind of done some of the kits. Some of them were already done, and I will package them up probably first thing tomorrow morning. I just ran out of steam a little bit, but you know, this is kind of indicative of what comes in one of the textile pinch pot packs. So lots of other little bits and pieces as well over here, like bits of vintage quilts that are hand stitched, and more yo-yos, and like French laundry tags. But you get like a selection of things to make a pinch pot, and I kind of batch make them. Beautiful, you know, lots of beautiful vintage bits and pieces. Each one, of course, is individual, because, you know, the textiles are different in each one. So I'm going to take you out the back now and show you what has been going on out there. I'm not going to walk over with you because you'll probably get seasick. So I'll see you in a sec. Okay, I thought I'd just give you a little tour of where we're up to in the back area. That's the little wash that I have just done that is drying at Vintage Textiles. Still our packing area. I have this basket and this basket of ironing to do. We've got soaking going, there's still vintage things here I need to put up around the shop, and some of them are for sale. And I am down to, out of those original baskets, or the 3 kind of chairs, this is the last one. It's mostly textiles. There's that beautiful couch that I found at the Islington Market once, the couch cover. Lots of, what's that called? Chicken scratch embroidery, which I like to put in with Edie quilt kits, and we're in the middle of cutting one of those. And then this is the big box. Mostly, I think there's a couple of things thrown on the top there of textiles that I showed in the last video that I did. So it's, you know, it's still a work in process, although, you know, it is neater. It's getting there. Pile here is the Japanese textiles. I'm just going to cut myself some of those to take home because I really want to make Japanese inspired needlebook, which I thought might be fun. Textiles here to make kits from that I've been gathering together and just haven't done yet. I've got zipper charms that I just have not taken photos of. They are available in store. Sorry about that, in online customers. And here is the textiles that I am going to take you through. So I'm just going to put you on a stable stand and then talk you through my thoughts about that. Okay, so the first source I'm going to share some pricing on is, where's my dot there? I've forgotten. The Sewing Basket. So you'll see Australian kind of retail, Australian vintage textile users in New South Wales talk about the Sewing Basket. It is a op shop that is entirely for textiles, and it supports a really good cause. So I popped in there purely by chance, actually, on the day we arrived home from Japan, because we got in the car and we're in the tunnel and going home, and the car said I had 4 kilometres worth of petrol left, and I hadn't even checked, and I think we'd valet parked our car. I reckon they'd been having a little joyride in the mum vehicle. But so we had to get out of the tunnel just by chance and find just wherever there was an exit, and we found a servo. And when I went to my map to reprogram how to get home, it had a pin on it of the Sewing Basket from a previous time that I had visited. So I said to Emma and Otto, who were in my car, because we'd had to take 2 cars down, I'll just be 5 minutes, let me pop in. It was not 5 minutes, it was about 20 minutes, but I enjoyed going in there. So in there I found 2 fabric measuring tapes. They are really hard to find. They're really expensive online. Thrilled to pick these up. They were $5 each. So that was really good price, but it was any measuring tapes for $5 there. You can normally pick them up at lots of op shops for $1 or so in Australia, but you do not find these fabric ones, and these are great to include in, I put them in needle books or in textile collages. Anyway, very thrilled to find that. So that was great value at the Sewing Basket for those things. Where have I put my Sewing Basket stuff? Oh, here. So then I also picked up this lovely, it's beautiful pink linen, but it is marked and it's rust marked, so that's not coming out, like it hasn't been soaked yet. And it was $5. No embroidery on it, nice edge, like a little tattered, or maybe, no, a little crochet edge on it. Very nice. The pink is beautiful. $5 though, pricey-ish, I would say. Picked up this lovely tablecloth that is part finished. So you can see here it's not finished, and it's got one, no, it doesn't have any finished. It's got some part finished corners, 2 part finished corners and 2 unfinished corners, really marked up linen. It will probably soak quite nicely though. And I picked this up because I thought the colours were beautiful, especially in this part here, really pretty. That was $20. I think that's kind of expensive for an op shop unfinished tablecloth. I don't know. I'd be really interested to hear people's thoughts. I picked up, this was decent value, I think. Picked up 3 pieces. There's a small, like part of a Duchess set, the big one, and one small one, and then a napkin, all with the same kind of linen applique on there, and some quite lovely, lovely embroidery work. I like the blue, the linen is lovely. That set of 3 was $10. That was reasonable in my opinion. Two applique, and they're appliqued at both ends, table placemats. $10 for 2 of those. Set of 3 doilies with cross stitch, or a Duchess set. Cross stitch and drawn thread work, also on a nice linen. $15 for those. That's about what I'm selling for as a general rule. These were good value, I thought, because they're nice fine ones. These are really lovely to include in work, like in textile collages. 2 for $2. And it is getting harder and harder to find beautiful textiles. They're getting more expensive and they're just harder to find. Set of 3, really lovely, and I thought these could be cut and added to pinch pots or needle books or any of the things that I like to make, really. It's a really sweet crochet set of 3. Was $15. Sorry, my husband rang, so I don't know where it cut off. This really lovely doily, it's got lots of very pretty colours in it and usable areas. I think this is lovely. It was $10. It was hanging in the window. The lady did say to me that she had just put it into the window and she didn't think it would have lasted long. Now that is the entirety of what I bought from the sewing basket, and that was $110, I think. I don't know, you could go back and add up what I just said it was all worth. What do you think about that? I think kind of pricey, but that's me. The following week, we had to go back down to Sydney because my son Max was leaving on his overseas adventure, and it was a really awful leave because in the way, Max, he runs by the seat of his pants, and he knew his plane was late and he made us get there late, and he doesn't have a phone because he'd lost his SIM card in Japan, so we were messaging on Wi-Fi with him and stuff, and he didn't get the calls. The airline had tried to contact him, so when we rocked up in Sydney and he presented his passport, and I was ready for cuddles and all the things because my first baby boy was heading off for like 3 months without us on a massive adventure. He got all these people descended on him and said, we're putting you on a different flight because your flights will miss the connection in Seoul. And it was really lucky he wasn't on the plane that crashed in Seoul, but it was the day that happened. And he got upgraded to first class. So he was living his best life on a direct flight, first class to LA, and we didn't even get a hug. I didn't get a hug at all, and I felt just kind of a bit broken by it, actually. Anyway, so I convinced my husband and Otto, who'd also driven down with us. Just the four of us had driven Max down. Emma was at work, and I think Tom was at work as well. But I should be able to go to some vintage shops because, that was fair. So I'm going to insert some video here from one of those shops. I went to two, one being the Merchant's Warehouse and the other one being that Vintage Emporium. They're both in kind of central Sydney, and I've been to both of them before. They're fun to look around. At the Merchant's Warehouse, I sourced some really great pieces for the shop when I was this big space, not the back area, the big space out the front, when I was looking for big pieces to, my big cutting table is from the Merchant's Warehouse, and they're really lovely and I enjoy shopping there. And that day when we were there, I was just picking up vintage textiles. Now, at that Vintage Emporium, I spent $62.50, and I bought I don't know what I bought from which one. So I bought $62.50 at one and $33 at the other. I actually spent $54, but I bought a cup and saucer for myself. So less than I spent at the sewing basket, a total of about $95 in total, and I'll show you what I picked up. I can't remember which one came from which. You'll see some of that in the video, I guess. Nice piece of white work, really lovely edging on it. These are really great as bases for textile collages. Couple of little hankies. This one, because it had the R on it, R for Rebecca. This one was just sweet, and I think they were 3 for $10, and I think these were from the Merchant Warehouse. I always like coloured background to textiles or embroidery, so we'll pick those up when I can. A couple of kind of, not the finest kind of examples, although I do like the edge on this, and I like a daisy, and I will still pick up even a broken sandwich tray. I think this was 50 cents even at the vintage shops. 2 large doilies, and I bought it entirely for that pink one. Cotton, they are $8. So there's stuff to be used out of that one. It's quite nice, but I do like all these flowers on this pink one. And we just saw the price that I paid at the sewing basket. Picked up a lovely cross stitch tablecloth. This is beautiful, a daffodil with a lovely edge. It's a bit marked and I need a big soak, but lovely edge on that, and lots of beautiful, very nice embroidery actually. Daffodils, so 2 tablecloths, 3 tablecloths. I picked up this one as well. Drawn thread work and just some grub roses. That's somebody purchasing something, thank you very much. And then this one, which is lovely as well. Cut work, beautiful embroidery, just very lovely. So 4 tablecloths. This I thought was really lovely. Look at that work there and the back of it. I'm not sure which is front and back, so beautiful. This was $5 at one of those vintage shops, and then 2 sets of napkins. That's a lovely embroidery, and I like to use these as the base of textile collages, and then I often use that as the start of the colours that I'm going to use. So beautiful linen, pretty embroidery, and then this one as well, which I thought was really lovely. I like all the French knots in that. Pretty lovely base for a textile collage. All need a soak. But so that was a good $20 cheaper than the sewing basket. There's more there, I think. Like, I think I got better value at the vintage shops than I did at the sewing basket. Oh, and I've just found 3 more napkins, which I think they were from one of those vintage shops as well, with lovely applique on them. I like those, and I really like it. These are great for, so I'd probably use this one in a needlebook rather than in base of a textile collage, because I love those borders and they're really fun to be just pages in your needlebooks, because I've got lots of pages in mine that aren't necessarily just for the needles. They're just like fun decorative pages, and I think they'd be great. So that's those two. Hold on 2 secs, somebody else is ringing me. And just while we're comparing prices of things, because if you're in at this point, you're in for the long haul, I thought I would share just some local shops to me in Newcastle. I used to be very close to the Retro Wardrobe, which is not an op shop, it's like a vintage a vintage shop that is retro, I guess. And she, the lovely owner of that, had a selection of vintage textiles. Now, some of them are way too high priced for me as somebody that's putting together kits, but for my own personal use, absolutely. And some of them were more reasonably priced just in general. So there was a big range. So maybe, you know, maybe she'd priced those based on what she'd paid herself, or I don't know. And as I said, I think, and everybody's saying, that the price of vintage textiles is going up. So I picked up this stunning strawberry part Duchess set. So one little, one big. You know, I'm making a strawberry quilt. I can't wait to get onto that this year. Now I've finished my other quilt. It was $9 for the pair of those, which I'm more than happy to pay. And then I also picked up this one, and I think just because it's got quite nice work on it, like the embroidery here is lovely, and this little tree could be lovely as the start of a collage, and that was $6. And one last source. So I also picked up 3 vintage bundles for $25 off. Really crap saucer. Either off Facebook Marketplace or off eBay. But the price, so there were 3 bundles, they were $25 each, and that included the postage. So there was a couple of things in there that I really wanted. Again, beautiful pink linen, nice edge, no embroidery on it. I like the look of this one. Partly for like inclusion in a Gosling kit, because there's quite a few that you could get a nice hexie out of, and then, well, you could get 2 nice hexies out of that, and then some other little bits, which is good. I love the colorway of this, and this actually inspired my little nephew, not so little, in his colours that he was choosing when he was up in Newcastle for a quilt that his mum is going to make him. It's quite nice. Like the drawn thread work, and the edge of that is very pretty. If you're making a massive needlebook, how good would that be as pages? Just so pretty. This was why I bought one of them. Look at that gorgeous vintage green. It's got lovely embroidery on it. It's stained, it's beautiful. That's for me. Lots of bits and pieces. So some of the pieces that are in those kind of bundles, they're not for me at all. Emma, who works at the shop, her sister is opening an op shop, so I've been like collecting all of those things to give to her op shop. These are nice. On a natural Linen, there's lots of them, lots of embroidery that would be good to use. I do like the applique of this, and I'll cut them off, but I don't like it when it's on this. Like, this is ugly to me. That's cute. So, you know, you have to think about how you're going to cut them up. There were a couple of greens in there that are just plain as well. They're nice. They're not as lovely as that muted green that I really adore. You know, a cool butterfly in there that's upside down. It's cute. Lots of bits and pieces, and I'm aware this video has got really long, sorry. $75. Now, I will have thought that that was a reasonable price because I picked it up. Comparatively to those two other sources, I don't know why I've given you this background. Like, of all the pretty things in the shop, and I'm showing you the computer and packing area, how did that compare? Okay, you get more junk in that kind of a bundle of stuff. Like, I'm pretty particular about what I want to work with and what I want to include in kits. I do pass on a lot of stuff to makers that it might be better for, or for op shops. Like, pass on being not sell, like, just, I'm not going to put this in a kit, but would you like it? I almost think the best value was the vintage stores. I think. So anyway, tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on stuff. Look, there's another nice one that was in that bundle though. I really like those daisies. I hope you're having lots of fun stitching, and I'm going to go home and do a little bit of stitching now myself. I was going to go home and do stuff with the kids, but both of them have messaged to say that they're off doing stuff with friends. So, you know, play with your kids while you can, because they don't want you soon. Hope you're having a great day. See you later, YouTube.